What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Grant Rogers channel. Today we're going to be talking about the inevitability of our demise. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. Today. So, Quadeca kinda set the internet on fire with this one. With the two preceding singles of this record being some of the most dour and some of the saddest music he has ever released, this album was going to be a train wreck of emotions. And I'm happy to report, yeah, it's a lot. Quadeca's I Didn't Mean to Haunt You is a very difficult album to listen to at times because it feels so relatable in a lot of different ways. It's extremely ambitious with its sound palettes and all it tries to accomplish, and it honestly is one of the most remarkable productions from someone who just wrote and produced this entire album by himself. It is seriously a testament to how much Quadeca has grown as an artist over the past few years, from him starting off with diss tracks to now making one of the most avant-garde and experimental and boundary-pushing albums of the past year. With that in mind, I'm going to be going track by track to just show you guys how amazing this album is. So we gotta start with the first track, Sorry for Dying. Sorry for Dying is the intro track to this album, and it is one hell of a soundscape. Oh my god. The album's story starts off here where it talks about him killing himself and going right into the afterlife, and it is very visceral, it is very lush, and also just kind of is a grand introduction to the sound of this album, which is very spacey, ambient, depressing, and kind of nostalgic. A lot of this track deals with the regret of him deciding to kill himself, especially since these themes are going to build up over time and just show how much he misses living. So for an intro track to an album, this is exactly what I wanted it to be. It is very, very beautiful. It gives you a great introduction into the world that Quadeca is building, and it leads effortlessly into the second track. Tell Me a Joke is a depressing exodus into Quadeca's mind, and to talk about it more, I have brought on BazzReviews, so take a look.
What's up, guys? I'm Baz, and I run BazzReviews, and I just want to thank Grant for having me on this video. I am super excited to be talking about this album, and especially Tell Me a Joke. Man, this is just an unbelievable cut. I just don't even have the words for it. I know the phrase, "he's just like me for real," gets thrown around a lot, but he is just like me, for real. So in this song, Quad kind of raps about being the punchline of everybody's jokes and how he can't even escape that despite being in this afterlife or purgatory or even state of death that he's in throughout the album. Like I said, it is so hard to describe this song. It's just so well done. It takes the styles of Panda Bear and Animal Collective from the mid to late 2000s and even a little bit of Bon Iver's folktronica stuff on 22 a Million. It never feels forced at all. It's so well done. And for a guy that's been doing comedic content throughout his entire career on the internet, this whole album just really surprised me and exceeded every expectation I had. I wasn't expecting much going in, but I heard it and I'm like, wow, this is nuts. So overall, Tell Me a Joke, one of my favorite songs on the album. I hope you check it out and the rest of the album.
Don't mind me, somewhere in between closed eyes in a tree.
Don't Mind Me has some of the catchiest hooks on this album and some of the most depressing lyrics. This song is one of the many songs where he's reflecting upon his life and haunting the people that he loved. He talks about being in limbo, a state between life and death, and also speaks about how he follows around the people that loved him and I guess chronologues through their life. Mainly. He is basically watching the people that cared about him most mourn for his death, and it's a very, very sad image that got into my head and kind of fucked me up for a little bit. The song is mainly asking his loved ones to please don't mind his passing and try to move on so it doesn't make him feel more guilty for, dying. This is one of those moments on the album where I was not as crazy on it when I first listened to it, but then it grew with me exponentially as time went on. It is seriously a powerful statement, and I think it adds to the album's narrative very well, and it leads very well into the fourth track. This track gets so much hate for some reason. I do not know why it's everyone's least favorite. I just honestly don't get it, because I think this song is one of my favorites off the album. Picking Up Hands is a song about Quadeca going through his childhood home and reminiscing over the times he had when he was a child. It is absolutely gorgeous. He talks about what his room looked like in the refrain, like, it's the room, it's the wall, it's the poster and all, and the lamp that is still swinging on its cord. It still seems like it's home to him, even though it has been gone forever. And the way this refrain comes back at the end of the song, slowed down after like the big drop, is soul crushing. I love how it's like slowed down. It feels like it's disintegrating and just dilapidated, like the old house that he was visiting. Like, oh my gosh, this song, I don't get it. I really don't get why people are like, oh, this is like my least favorite off the album, because this thing is tortured, it's harrowing, and it just shows someone like just trying to cling on to what made them human. And this sentiment obviously translates into one of the biggest songs of this album, Born Yesterday. Born Yesterday is a song that I heard, and I loved it. I loved the sound of it. I loved how bold it was, but I never looked into the lyrics until my third listen of the album, and, this bitch fucked me up. Born Yesterday is a song about grief, and fuck, this thing is depressing. The main theme behind this song is that his mother is still grieving, and she will tell everyone that she's okay, she's fine, but Quadeca was not born yesterday, and he can clearly see that she is not okay. And I don't know what it is, but like the everlasting grief that is expressed in this song, especially with the chorus, I wasn't born yesterday, getting more and more powerful and more grandiose, and then Quadeca reflecting toward the end of the song about what he should have done when he was still alive, really broke me, like, to my core. I remember I was crying in my bed for like 30 fucking minutes, and I texted Jeremiah of Rap Cornballs, and he was just like, no! And I'm just like, but overall, this song is one of the best songs of the decade. I can't even overstate that. This thing is pushing boundaries, and it shows that Quadeca is here to stay and to make more boundary-pushing music. This leads into the one and only interlude of the album, The Memories We Lost in Translation, and I think it works damn well with Born Yesterday as like a little companion piece leading into the second half of the album, and then this leads into House Settling. House Settling is Quadeca being tired of feeling so much remorse for killing himself. This is the point in the story where things kind of turn. He misses his family so much and misses being alive that he tries poisoning all of them with carbon monoxide by leaving an oven on. What the fuck? Twitter's already heard about the whole Danny Brown rapping as carbon monoxide, but I'm going to touch upon it a little more. Danny Brown's verse should not work as well as it does. It's so reverby, it feels like it shouldn't, but Danny Brown just knows how to write a beat like no other person, bro. He went in, and you can just hear through his descriptive wordplay about just how much death is filled. It's just, make it real hard to breathe, now you're stuck and can't leave, can't touch or feel me, like, dude. That shit goes hard. And this is also a testament to Quadeca's world building and storytelling, because this is such a dark and depraved song that only people in the shoes of Quadeca could really take on, and I think this is wholly his own song, and my god, it is absolutely disturbing, and just is one of the biggest like moments on the album for me. Easily one of the best tracks. Knots is the most unexpected track on this album, especially since it kind of ditches the whole folktronica element and goes more into a industrial post-punk type of song. And I mean, I won't lie to you, this thing's a fucking rager. The song is about how, like, in his passing, when people refer to him, they kind of like stutter because it's like, oh shit, he's dead, and like they don't know how to really progress with that. It's just kind of how like grief and death itself can leave an impact on the mortal world. And this song's sound is so crazy. It is like a Death Grip song, but made from the perspective of like Injury Reserve, I guess. I don't know. It's just wholly his own thing. And some of these production choices too, like around the middle point when the song just breaks down and just goes into insanity, is so fucking crazy that I can't help just to like mosh, you know? If I was in the fucking pit when this song came on, I would destroy some motherfuckers, okay? This is definitely one of the biggest left turns on the album, and then it goes back on track with the next song, Fantasy World. Fantasy World is definitely the penultimate track of this album, and I feel as if I can't talk about it. So I'm going to let the biggest Quadeca fan I know discuss why he absolutely adores this song. Anyway, here is Jeremiah from the rap Cornballs.
I have my sunglasses on because I'm going to be honest, a grown man might cry today. Alright, so what I'm about to tell you is not only going to sound like a LeBron James level lie, but it's also going to make me sound like a fucking prick. But you know what? So be it. I fucking called it. Benjamin Lasky, also known as Quadeca, is someone that I have been following way before I started appreciating music on the level that I do now. I've said this in videos of mine before, but he is one of the first YouTubers that I started religiously watching. I know all of this man's diss tracks from front to back, and part of me really feels like I grew up with him. Now, by 2018, I started straying away from the whole YouTube rap scene. The more and more music I listened to, the less interested I became, especially because, you know, people like Dax, Crypt, Mac Lethal. Quadeca, however, was someone that I still paid attention to. 2019 is when I became full-on music nerd. I was taking recommendations from people left and right. I became fully enamored with the online music community. And that was also when Quadeca dropped his debut album, Voice Memos. A project that I wasn't too crazy about, but I saw the potential in, and I knew that he had something. Fast forward to April 29th, 2020. A day I will never forget. The pandemic had been whooping our ass for a month. We were desperate for new music. We had nothing to do, stuck inside the house all day, and that was when Quadeca dropped a single for his album, Alone Together. In retrospect, this single is not as crazy as I initially thought it was, but man, this gave me some unspeakable feeling. Shortly after the release of this single, Quadeca took a massive hiatus. And this was when I was like, yup. That amazing project that I said he was gonna make in my 2019 Voice Memos review is fucking coming. In 2021, Quadeca released his sophomore album, From Me to You. It blew me away. It blew Tyler away. Fuck you, Tyler, I told you so.
I'm like, what do you say fuck me for?
It blew fans away, and it was one of my favorite albums of the year. But we're not here to talk about From Me to You. We're here to talk about the follow-up, I Didn't Mean to Haunt You. An album that is 10 times better than From Me to You. Let me just say, this album is flawless in my opinion, from front to back. But I was assigned only one song to talk about. Smart move from Grant, because honestly, if you assign me to review this album, I would not shut the fuck up and you'd have to edit down 58 minutes worth of content.
Help me.
The song that we are going to be talking about is Fantasy World, which is easily my favorite on the album. And while Picking Up Hands is coming close to topping it, I don't think anything is going to hit as hard as Fantasy World this year for me. I don't know why I love this song so dearly, because Fantasy World makes me think of every single failed relationship I've ever fucking had in my life ever. The first half of it sounds like a Phoebe Bridgers song on acid. Now at first I thought that Fantasy World was some sort of closure, but it's not. Quadeca took to Twitter and said that while the album is in chronological order, Fantasy World is a flashback in context and takes place first in the timeline. Which is also why the vocals on it are uncomfortably intimate, which is the best way to describe this, because oh my fucking god. I have a 4.0, but when it comes to analyzing song lyrics or decoding anything, I'm kind of a fucking idiot, okay? So I am the last person that you would want to come to when you're trying to figure out the meaning of a song. I interpret Fantasy World as taking place before the narrator commits suicide. In the second verse, he talks about places that he finds comforting, the cabin in Sweden and the bakery in Maine. And the verse ends with, that's a fantasy world, that's the one that I've chosen. I need to believe that this fantasy world that he's chosen can only be accomplished by his fate. I stole that last line right off of Genius, but I agree with it. This is without a doubt the most hard-hitting song that I have heard all year. It brings back so much memories, both good and bad. Truthfully, I don't even have my full thoughts formulated on this, but I hope I have them by the end of the year because it will without a doubt be in my top 3 albums this year, if not top 1. This album hits so hard for me, and I am so glad it is getting the praise that it deserves. It's just something else, and it's fucking art. God, I'm saying this like I made the album or some shit. Okay, yeah, that's it. Thank you. Love you so much, Grant. If you're from the Cornballs channel, subscribe to them immediately. They are one of my favorite fucking content creators ever. I love you, Grant.
Those words don't do you justice.
Fractions of Infinity is one of the tracks that I'm most mixed on. I think it sounds gorgeous, and I think the message of it is something that I'm very unclear with it as well, but here's my interpretation. I think this song is about Quadeca going on and accepting that he is dead and trying to go into the afterlife. But nothing is gonna change until I change what nothing is. Fractions of Infinity, Fractions of Infinity. I feel as if this song is him realizing that he can't go back and that everything is set in stone and he just has to move on. And there is a deep pain that he feels that he can't properly describe, and that is eloquently brought up by the Sunday service choir at the end, where it repeats the mantra, "These words don't do you justice." Holy shit. I think sonically this track is very beautiful, and I think sentimentally within the album it has a very good place. I just don't know how I feel about this one. This is not one that I repeat a lot, but I understand why people like it as much as they do. I do think it's very pretty. I don't know, I might grow on this one a lot more, but overall I think this song is beautiful, and I think it leads very well into the last track, Cassini's Division. Cassini's Division is the worst song on this album. That's not a question here. And this thing had so much more potential to be something grand and a lot more grandiose, especially with Thor Harris of Swans being on this thing. But in my opinion, this is a lackluster closer for an album, and I'm not even talking about the 3.5-minute outro to this thing just being like a static. That's fine. I just think the progression of the first half is very boring and it doesn't lead anywhere, in my opinion. Especially for Swans being known to have explosive outcomes. I thought with the feature of Thor Harris, it would be something a lot more monumental to end this album, but I guess I was wrong. This song is him actually progressing to the afterlife, and he uses Cassini's Division to represent the static, or moving on from the mortal realm into the afterlife. And I think that's a cool metaphor that is personified at the end with 3.5 minutes of static, which is known to be him transitioning into the afterlife. I think that was a very well done and very well put together message. But I just feel as if the moments leading up to it were very lackluster, I would say. I feel like if you're gonna dissolve like that at the end, you have to have something just grand and monumental to bring it there, so it feels worth it. That's just my personal opinion, though. That does not taint my impression of the overall album, though, as I find this album to be absolutely beautiful. This is a grand and harrowing artistic statement from Quadeca that not many people are gonna forget for a long time. He pushed boundaries that have not been pushed since Injury Reserves by the time I get to Phoenix. He has pushed songwriting in a way that is cohesive and harrowing and just dark that I've not seen really in an album besides, I don't know, Tommy by The Who. The Wall as well, I guess, but it just feels so earnest and like raw that and it's just, God, I can't describe it. You can just hear me stuttering, like... All I'm saying is that Quadeca's I Didn't Mean to Haunt You is an absolutely beautiful, haunting, I get it, and absolutely jaw-dropping experience that I think a lot of people should listen to, and it's easily one of the best albums of the year, not even close. And I'm gonna, oh god, shaky cam. I'm giving this one a 9 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to BazzReviews and the Rap Cornballs for helping me out on this video. It really means a lot. Thank you all so much for the support. I'm really glad to be making videos. It's very fun, and I plan on doing this a lot more as time goes on. And so yeah, Thank you guys for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Please do not dislike because I'm extremely lonely. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Peace.